Why cybersecurity? Cybersecurity is a major concern around the globe. It is increasing with the frequency, the sophistication of the number of types of attacks out there, the cost associated to the cybersecurity. It is all increasing and rapidly increasing throughout the years. If we see 21st century is becoming more and more digitally connected, so we need to have a data protected, sensitive data out there, we need to have it protected. The privacy, the other concern which is mostly important for everyone, is that we want our data to be private and not exposed to the world out there for everyone to have it, to have an hand over it. The next thing which why we want cybersecurity is for the economic stability across the globe, because you have seen, like, if a sector of our globe is hit by a cyber attack, maybe like a healthcare or any other sector. If we take healthcare, if an organization's data is impacted there, the shares of that particular healthcare sector as well as that organization go steeply down, which always affects the investments made by the other investors out there and also impacts the data out there. We want for cybersecurity for the national security of our country, because as the data is increasing day by day, everything is going digitalized. So the national security is also getting hampered because of that. Also, we want to avoid the downtime out there. If a cyber attack happens, the systems goes down. We don't want a major organization or major structures, infrastructures which are out there, digital infrastructures, to be on a hold or should be on downtime, which might impact the health of people or the stock markets or the data out there. If we go for some numbers, the global cost of cybercrime is around $6 trillion as per Cybersecurity Ventures just in 2023. Around 64 billion cybersecurity attacks were attempted just in 1 year, in year of 2022. So the demand for cybersecurity, the need for cybersecurity is very high. Then it is just not the cybersecurity or cyber attacks are something which are done by the people sitting behind a desk over a computer, just typing some codes or commands, and that attack is being happened. With the sophistication and with the advancement of the technology, the attacks today are getting more and more automated. You have the apps there, you have the tools at your hands. You need to learn them, and you can perform different types of attacks, either to exploit the system or to safeguard the system. What does a cybersecurity personnel looks like? It is not someone who has a gun in his hand and working out there to save a person or the organization. It is just some people like us sitting behind the desk trying to safeguard our organizations. It is not someone that looks like in the that how is it shown in the pictures with the blue dramatic scenarios. It are some common people like us. Some few examples: Nikesh Arora, from who's the CEO of Palo Alto Networks; David Ulrich, he is the founder of OpenDNS. So these are the common people who are taking up the tools and the guards to protect our cybersecurity realm. Then comes why cybersecurity, or what are the different types of cybersecurities. So, in the vast digital landscape, a looming pervasive shadow takes place, the realm of cyber attacks. The arsenal which it has is very vast. It has social engineering scams, phishing, malware. These are just a few examples which I have put across for today. But there is a vast scenario, different kind of attacks which are correlated. The cyber attackers can use two different types of attacks together, coagulate them, and then exploit the data out there, or try to exploit the functionalities out there, vulnerabilities out there. Let's start with the social engineering. Social engineering is the art of manipulation of human element, human sentiments. It leverages the trust, curiosity, and willingness of a person to cooperate. It takes the it is basically attempting to steal the information of a person without actually hacking into your system. It is like a man in the middle, where that middleman is you itself. They will be exploiting they will be exploiting your emotions, your trust, and they'll be trying to make things happen via you. That is something which they are exploiting at the best. The social engineering landscape is basically they'll try to manipulate you via emails, via social media content, different types of trends. They'll perform, send out you mails, some lucrative leverages. They'll bait you into doing something, or like quid pro quo. They'll give you something in exchange of something. That is just the art of deception that social engineering is. It basically consists of four different stages. The attacker firstly performs their research on the what kind of scenarios or the situations are there outside in the given world as of now. Like they first research, like if it is a pandemic going on, they'll give out to you flyers or mails regarding guidelines of how you can avoid this pandemic. But that flyers or the mails which you have will be malicious and contain different kinds of links, which will take you to going into giving their data, giving your data to them. They'll bait you into something other. Once they have researched all the what scenario they want to target, then they'll start sending out the data to you. Data means like fake emails, fake messages, or fake apps they'll develop. They'll put it out there. They'll try to convince you into their story. They'll just like create a whole scenario where they'll try to build up a relation with you. After getting all these things done, they'll try to make you do some act. Once you are under their control, you will do some act. They leverage it. They'll get all the data which they want. And once they have the data, they'll exit from there. They won't be stand waiting for you to respond to them. They have the data. The victim is there waiting and scared, but they'll just cover their tracks and move away. 98% of the cyber attacks involve social engineering as per Verizona. Some very big cyber attacks which has happened, like the SolarWinds attack, the Facebook data breach, these things had social engineering involved in it. So how can we avoid social engineering? We need to turn on our spider senses. Always and always try to read as thoroughly as possible the mails or the messages which you are getting. We need to be more than not 100%, but maybe 10,000 or 1 lakh% sure what we are going to do. We should not directly go on get a customer care number directly from the Google. It might be malicious and leading you to doing something different. We need to be sure what we are going to do. Always ask the questions, is this what I want to do? If you're transferring something, some data, you need to be sure it is the legitimate site before doing that. So these are the some basics practice what how to avoid a social engineering. Under social engineering, we have phishing. Phishing is just kind of a social engineering itself. Phishing refers to the practice of creating fake emails or SMSs. Yeah.
You can start share your screen and
Is it is it visible now?
yep, yep.
Sure. So as I was saying, under phishing, we have smishing. Smishing basically is when we are sending out the SMSs to exploit the people. Wishing is when you're trying to do it same via voice calls. We all are fed up of the different kinds of calls which we get from different organizations, just trying to leverage something or the other. There is a very common trend which is going on WhatsApp where you get messages from the international numbers trying to leverage something or the other. They'll try to get your data of Aadhaar or something. And once they have that data, they'll try to leverage it into getting some other information, or they'll use that Aadhaar data of your to get a different kind of scenario. Like they want to buy a different SIM or some other connection, create a new loan. So all those things are happening using the phishing technique. It is one of the most common things and easiest for the cyber criminals, which they are using to proceed and to extort money from the people. Basically, phishing we can divide into three types. Mass scale phishing, it is basically giving a creating an attack for a broader spectrum of people, not focusing on one particular person. But if you want to catch someone dedicatedly or like a particular person, then you do a spear fishing. You throw a spear in the pond or the river to catch a particular fish or a particular targeted person. But if you want to target a very big whale then that is called whaling. Like whale, by whale, I mean like a CEO of an organization or very big target or higher authority, CISO, someone from the high management of an organization. That is called whaling in terms of phishing. So how do we detect phishing emails? So for detecting phishing emails, there are a few pointers which a person can look into it. First and foremost is the sender's mail, from where you got that email. There always will be some typocasting or some or the other manner which they'll be using to create a fake email ID which will look like a original one, and they'll be using it. For example, in this one, they are using on Microsoft. Generally, if you read legitimate ID, it should be security.microsoft.com, but they have added a word on which a person might miss. Second thing is there'll be generic greeting. They'll be demanding in their emails. They'll say ki do something, or they'll demand you to do something from those emails. But in general practice, if a organization is sending out you email, they'll be very polite in their words, and they won't be demanding or commanding you to do something. Always hover over the link to check what is the different type, or what is the hyperlink is taking you to where. This hyperlink is taking it to its invoice, which is not the correct thing to happen. They'll use poor grammar. So these are the few pointers which will be there, and you can point out like these might be a phishing mail, and you can report it. Like for example, this is a COVID-19 scenario, a mail which has been sent stating that it is from the World Health Organization. So if you go through this, go through the attached document, click on the button. These are something demanding commands which they are trying to do. This word, this is a example of bad grammar. Similarly, again, mandatory for everyone to read. It is instructive and creating a fear that it is mandatory for you to perform. So these are some things which like this is an example which you can see how phishing mails are being used. The next thing is the designation. Designation is written as pan space demic. So it clearly states it is a fake email coming from somewhere. No one's name can be pan space demic. Another type of, so what malware is basically installing something which is malicious in nature. It has some code or some things written in background, which like if you, there are multiple freewares as applications out there on the Google, which Google Play Store doesn't allow you to do install. But there are applications out there. If you directly download it from the APK file from the Google and try and install it on the Android, you can do it easily. You just need to make a change in the setting, but those applications might be malicious. They can have, they give you, the first pop-up which you will have is they want permissions from you, access to image, their gallery, your location. They collect all this data and they populate it or store it globally or somewhere in the cloud, and which can be later on sold for their use. Similar kind of scenario is what is malware is. Malware is any kind of unwanted software that is installed without your consent on the computer and other digital devices. There are multiple types of malware, maybe adware and spyware, ransomware, virus. Virus is the most common, which we have heard from our childhood. These are some subgroups of malware, starting with adware and spyware. Adware is a type of malware designed to display advertisements in a user's software. When you are installing software or on a website or using any application, you get ads. Those are, if you click on those ads, they can run a script or a command in the background and get access to your system. Similarly, spyware is like a adware. It spies on the user to see what information are you searching for, just like cookies, and then they collect that information, and basis that they display pop-up ads on your system. So spyware, unlike adware, likes to use the memory of the program running in the background. Adwares don't use the compute and the memory of your system, but spywares, they keep on running in the background and they use they use up the memory of your system. So what is the adware exploit kit? There can be a normal website di directing you to a malicious advertisement. If you click on that and direct, as soon as you click on a malicious advertisement, you are directed to a traffic direction system, and to the different website or exploit kit will start running from there. Second thing could be a compromised website, or like for example, in our childhood, we must have downloaded something or the other from the songs.pk. So you would have seen multiple ads popping up there. You would have seen different download buttons there. To cherry pick or to choose which download button was the correct one, that was a task in our itself. So if we used to click on a wrong one, we would be directed to a different website. And from there, they might attack or create some scenarios or install something onto your system, and then eventually they can exploit the system. These are some ads or the pop-ups which is like we have seen definitely when we were using the Windows XP or Windows 7. These days has these have decreased, but these are something which we have obviously seen somewhere or the other down the line. This is something which this is an example of a smishing attack, you can say, or adware, where they are giving you a link to the Netflix during the COVID times. Like you will get free data for or free subscription to Netflix. Netflix is giving now this feature, but it was a attack or a kind of a malware which they used to install into your system to exploit your system information. Then next comes is ransomware. Ransomware is a type of malware that restricts your access to the system until and unless you pay for it or give something or the other in return to restore that access. So ransomware is something which will block you out of your system totally until and unless you accept what needs to be done from their end. Often systems are injected by ransomware through a link or a malicious email. Once the user clicks the link, the ransomware is downloaded on the system or the smartphone, and they are blocked out of the system until and unless they do what the attacker is asking them to do. Next type of attack would be a denial of service attack. Denial of service attack is basically for a bigger organization or a broader spectrum, where they'll shoot so many attacks onto a system that it will be like there will be no bandwidth left for the system to perform anything, and no bandwidth left for the legitimate traffic to reach that system. Hence, targeting the target server goes down, and they are not able to perform anything or to save their target site. Then comes what is a business email compromise. This is a very common kind of a phishing, you can say, using social engineering. It is a cumulative kind of attack. What happens in this? The threat actors target a particular position or a particular employee in the business organization. Then they start grooming them via sending some mails, maybe some lucrative mails, or asking them to perform some payments for the organization. And in a hurry, that personal might not check the whole email and make the transaction or transfer the data from their system, and eventually leading to the data loss and data breach. This has many names like CO fraud or man in the email scam, employee accounts compromise, bogus invoice schemes. So this one business email compromise can have a multiple names across the globe, but it is just the same thing happening throughout the organization. Coming to some prominent, what we can say, cyber attacks which has happened throughout the globe so far. The one was the WannaCry ransomware attack. It happened on May 12th, 2017. The organizations were and the people were shut from their systems, and this pop-up used to open in their system where they were asked to pay in bitcoins. Until and unless they paid for it, they were blocked out of it. They were given a demo version as well, where they were allowed to decrypt 3 files of theirs. After that, if they want to decrypt more files, they need to pay in bitcoins. It exploited the Microsoft Windows Server message block SMB protocol. It affected around 3 lakh computers in 150 countries, causing approx $8 billion of damage across the globe. WannaCry was a self-replicating worm which used once installed onto one file, it will automatically self-replicate and get attached to different other files and folder. Hence, encrypting all those files in that infected computer. Once you pay with the Bitcoin, the they would provide you with the key to decrypt these files, and you can have access to that. So WannaCry was something which highlighted the importance of patching vulnerabilities in a system. Before that, that patching was not done so frequently, but post that, patching has become a strong cybersecurity practice across the globe. Second is SolarWinds cyber attack, a real world social engineering attack. The SolarWinds cyber attack was something, a SolarWinds is a software from the Orion software. That's a malicious code or script was attached to that software. Once the update was installed in the computers or the setup of the organizations, it got installed there and exploited the data, and sensitive data was leaked through that exploit. Around 18,000 plus organizations compromised, including government agencies and Fortune 500 companies. This attack is considered one of the most sophisticated and damaging attacks in the cyber history. Then this is the very common one which we are getting daily, or I guess maybe monthly. We must be having these mails where people are trying to lucrative mails saying that they want to hire us or they can get us jobs throughout the market. This was very common during COVID-19 times. Since February 2023, it has again suited up. You will get LinkedIn recruiter mails offering you attractive job positions. Then, if you click on those links, they'll navigate to you a different fake LinkedIn page where you'll add in your credentials, your data, and that can then get stored into their system, and then they can exploit and sell it out. So these are the some famous ones which were there. Apart from there, the if we speak about India, Aadhaar data breach, around 81 crore people data was leaked out across the country on the dark web. Then ICMR breach, around 815 million people data, medical data was out there on the dark web. There was a report from Surfshark which states India ranks 10th in data breach in Q3 2023, third in Asia, where US ranks the first. India has decreased considerably, around 73% from Q2 to Q3, but still position of 10th is very high. So cybersecurity and privacy is something which we need to incorporate in our lives, and we need to start looking at it in a more serious and a more confident, or what we can say, we need to have a point of vulnerability in our security defenses. We need to know what is the vulnerability and how we can avoid it. We cannot avoid it. We need to learn how to avoid those scenarios which might happen, because even the best securities only functions when it is activated. You can put it out there, but until and unless it is tested it out, you cannot be sure how good your security is. That's all from my side. Thank you. Any questions, anyone?
Yeah, I just have one question, right? Like, thanks for the wonderful presentation. So now, when you spoke about all these different sort of attacks, right? So, is there any
Mhm.
one simple tip which you would say that is the most important for the end user? Which, like, let's say we are all from technology, we are aware of these things, but let's say if someone is not from the technology, what is that one important thing people should look into
The
as the
most
important?
like if I speak in terms of the Indian side, the most common thing which happens is the messaging part, which is happening across India via WhatsApp or the emails. So if you are getting a message or a link from an unknown person, you need to be sure who is that person before navigating directly to, or clicking onto that links. Maybe because like especially we can try and educate our parents around that, because those people are the most common people who are getting exploited via these methods in India, at least. So I would say clicking on links, we should try to avoid directly clicking on links until unless we are sure what it is exactly taking us to.
Sure. Thank you.
And also